Childhood and cartoons. They coincide together. They remind a kid about the feeling of infinite freedom that they have at a young age. Now, when you think of cartoons that you watched in the past, a lot of those shows probably have over-exaggerated storylines and plots, but still contain important messages in the end. These plots or storylines aren't necessarily relatable, they still contain morals and lessons for the kids to learn. So in the end, there's something to take from it. However, not all shows are like that. Some of them literally take the idea of childhood and make it the main premise of the show. So not only is the plot now relatable, now it's paired with important themes, messages, morals, etc. Some shows that are good examples are Hey Arnold, Recess, and more recently Craig of the Creek. Today, I wanted to focus on Craig of the Creek and explain why I think Craig of the Creek is the modern day Recess. Or Recess reincarnated. You get the idea.
Okay, so how are Craig of the Creek and Recess similar? Well, you see, little kids, imagination, playing pretend. The end. Okay, yes. Those are obvious similarities, but there's a lot more to think about when you consider these points, and it's interesting to learn how a show from 1997 and a show from 2018 can be so similar in many different ways. Now, I know some of you are thinking, why Recess? There are other shows like Hey Arnold, or maybe Doug, or maybe Rugrats that can be compared to Craig of the Creek. While that is true, Recess tackles the idea of childhood in a way that I think stands out from the rest. Same with Craig of the Creek. I'll explain that later in the video. When watching these two shows, there are 4 important points that they both tackle. These 4 pretty much help compose the plot structure and the characters' personalities. They are the character and their roles, the significance of the setting, overemphasizing childhood, and morals plus the character's point of view. Let's start off with the characters and their roles.
Anymore. This paintball war was supposed to be between us middle schoolers. Those first graders are just kids.
They're kids in elementary/middle school, so what? I feel like this point can tie in with the setting being important. When thinking about the storyline, their grade or age represents their status in the environment. Older grades have more dominance than the younger grades, and this is overemphasized by their personality, the way they communicate with each other, their conflicts, and even their visual representation. For example, when watching Recess, the 5th and 6th graders are usually the conflict since we focus on 4th graders. They have more dominance on the playground and hold a higher status because they're closer with King Bob, who is pretty much at the top of the hierarchy.
Might as well hang it up, Lawson. This dodgeball court ain't big enough for the both of us.
You talk like a hero. You got something to learn about heroes, LaSalle.
They demand candy from other students, reserve the water fountain for King Bob. They even make other kids bow down when King Bob arrives. The younger grades, on the other hand, are portrayed as powerless and more vulnerable. Except for the kindergartners, they're just like their own thing, they're just demons. These specific groups also deal with their own conflict. Some examples are replacing Bob and finding a good replacement, or the Prank Wars episode. These conflicts are a way to remind the viewer of their higher status.
When it comes to visuals, both shows do an excellent job in showcasing the personality and roles of the characters. Let's look at Recess, for example. Just by looking at them, you can tell who's the geek, the scaredy cat, the bully, the lovable character, or the leader of the group. Like Gretchen, for example. She's skinny but has big glasses on, which can show her intelligence. Spinelli wears a jacket, beanie, has fuzzy hair, and wears boots, which shows her roughness. Even TJ has a backwards cap on, which can show that he's laid back and chill, probably a little more logical, and he could be the leader of the group. In Craig of the Creek, Craig has a bow staff and a satchel, which means he's prepared for adventure and can lead the way. JP wears an oversized jersey, which can show how unorganized he is, or messy. And Kelsey has a sword and cape, which demonstrates her brave and warrior-like behavior. Now, I can go on and on about every character in these shows, but I think you get the idea. A lot of these characteristics are kind of childish, yes, but I think the fact that they're childish adds more to the nostalgic feeling of these shows.
Don't worry, we're almost to the trading tree. And you know what that means.
The setting of a cartoon show is important when you're trying to illustrate the theme. Recess has the playground and Craig of the Creek has, well, the creek. Recess and the creek by themselves already have a theme of childhood. Recess is where you get to play during school hours, and the creek can represent the exploration part of your youth days, like going there during the summer or exploring your backyard, all that jazz. In the show Recess, playtime is usually their main time to explore and have adventures, but the characters still get to have their episode conflicts during class time, like when they're trying to get to the teacher's lounge, or being the AV kid, or even inside the cafeteria. These different places still hold significance even if they aren't necessarily Recess. In Craig of the Creek has different areas that hold their own purpose, and it sort of acts like a utopia for the kids. There's a small trading center, a poison ivy pit, a paintball war zone that's populated by the big kids. Since there are multiple areas within the creek that are usually focused in separate episodes, it allows the characters to have more exploration and meet new kids in these areas. And the kids usually coincide with the area they're in. This is seen with the paintball war zone in the older kids, the teenagers in their hideout, or the kids who worshipped the dog in that one episode.
You want to do what? You heard me. The entire 4th grade versus the entire 5th grade in a mega dodgeball duel to the death.
What, you guys actually like Total Incomplete getting creamed?
Now my next point is overemphasizing specific things from childhood. For example, have you ever played The Floor is Lava and it was like the most suspenseful and dramatic thing you could possibly ever imagine? Or did you think that love and kissing was gross and disgusting? Specific themes like this are overemphasized and stretched out so they can be plots of these episodes. While they might be more dramatic than they really are, they're kind of shown in the perspective of these kids, and when you have a kid's point of view, it again adds more to that nostalgic feeling and also allow more content to be shown. There are a lot of good examples in Recess, specifically the episodes The Experiment, The One That Stayed Clean, and The Box. In the Experiment episode, the main 4th graders conduct an experiment to see if kissing means anything to them. So TJ and Spinelli have to kiss in order to conduct the test. Throughout the episode, they're frightened and paranoid, and they even say goodbye to their childhood, as if kissing is gonna do anything. It really didn't mean anything. Or in the Box episode where TJ gets sent to the box, which is just a square painted on the ground. It's like getting sent to the wall when you're not behaving. He starts to get claustrophobic, and throughout the episode, he is frightened of anything that is square. So the kids try to have to get him back to normal. Craig of the Creek also demonstrates this, not only in the creek, but outside the usual setting of the show. In the episode where he visits his grandparents, Craig tries to figure out what's destroying his grandpa's garden. Even though it was just a deer, through Craig's POV, it was seen as a mysterious and weird monster. I'm pretty sure there's an episode where they literally play The Floor is Lava, and it's as dramatic as it can be.
The ground is lava!
The characters' views on important lessons about growing up is prominent in both series, and it's probably the more important point out of these 4. Since these shows revolve around kids and demonstrate themes of childhood and nostalgia, having the characters learn lessons specifically about growing allows them to have character development, and to have the stories in these shows flow smoothly. It's also a way for the viewers to connect even more with the show. While both shows do an excellent job in shedding light on this point, I personally feel like Recess portrays it just a little better. It would pair familiar characteristics of childhood with important lessons made towards the end of the episodes, like friendship or selling yourself out, abuse of power, etc. My personal favorite would have to be from the theatrical movie School's Out. Towards the middle of the movie, the kids come to the realization that at some point, their childhood will end and they won't hang out anymore, which is something a lot of kids go through when they're younger. Yet not many shows represent it. For a show that's already connecting to the viewers with the central idea being elementary school adventures, a somber moment with close friends really seals the idea and gives the show a little more seriousness. I feel like more shows should explore this idea a little more. It can help people appreciate those small memories you have with your friends. I'm sure Craig of the Creek will go through greater lengths exploring this idea, but an example I liked was when JP wore his Sunday clothes to the creek. Even though he's a goofy kid in the group, he still deals with the pressure of being responsible since he's the oldest. That alone is a good way to give complexity to a character's personality, POV, and the morals that they learn.
In conclusion, these shows are very similar to each other. While they both tackle the idea of childhood, they use different aspects of it to resonate with the audience and make the shows feel timeless. Recess is about 23 years old, but there's not a lot of attributes of the show that kind of demonstrate how old it really is, if that makes sense. While it is about elementary school, you can watch this show in 2020 as an old fan or as a new viewer, and you really won't get lost within the cartoon. In a way, it kind of directs you through the characters and the storyline, which I think help an animated show succeed. With the direction that Craig of the Creek is currently going, I think it's safe to say that it'll stay fresh for a while. While Cartoon Network has a pretty good lineup for the next year or so, they have a relatable show that both older audiences and younger audiences can relate to and connect with. And that's why I think Craig of the Creek is like the modern day Recess. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I am very, very sorry that I've been inactive for the past 5 months or so. I have been working a lot and COVID obviously messed up my schedule and everyone's schedule, but I'm back now. I'm trying to get as organized as much as I can, and I have a lot of videos planned, especially for animation, so be on the lookout for those kinds of videos. Anyways, new videos are coming out soon, and until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!